Hey everybody, welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners, and I'm joined by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily, what are we talking about today?
We have a problem for you.
Okay, let's talk through it.
I'm trying to be a good leader. I'm making sure my team...
First of all, that's step one, right? I'm trying to be a good leader. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, step one. Good to hear. I'm making sure my team doesn't work late.
Okay.
And takes weekends off.
Love it.
As a result, I always end up working late on weekends, and I'm exhausted.
Okay.
Not sure what to do, but this isn't working.
That last piece, this isn't working.
Right. They've acknowledged some great things. We can say they've acknowledged that they need to be a good leader, right? They're trying. There's some effort in there, right? And they've realized that what they're doing is not that, and it's not working for them.
And I love the idea. They want to be a great leader. They're making sure their team doesn't work late. They're making sure they take weekends off. Mm-hmm. But they are then taking all that weight on themselves.
Right. They have like the framework for what should they want to be happening.
Yes.
But the solutions are not great.
Currently their system is not sustainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last episode we talked about how we have to have sustainability built into everything. And listen, I have been in that boat before, like, oh, I want to do all these good things. I wasn't actually ready to necessarily do those good things well. And the other side of it is, so you got to have systems. You got to have make sure that it is not just all on you. But the other side of it is we have to understand that in doing that, we're not actually modeling good things for our team.
Yeah.
We are saying you need to take weekends off and rest, and then we're working weekends.
Yeah, I think sometimes we don't have a realistic limit of what our limits are. We don't have a realistic understanding of what our limits are. Yeah. And we think that because we've been promoted into a certain position, that the expectation is that we then have to do all of these things.
Yeah.
And we know that we want our team to be healthy so that they can do well, but we don't always apply that logic to ourselves because we see the only solution, we think the only solution is, okay, if I just keep doing more, then they can do less and we'll all be healthy. And
part of it's what we're taught as leaders, that as a leader, I'm now in a leadership role. It is the weight of the world on my shoulders, right? We hear that over and over and over again, and we see that in the visuals that we embrace, the idea of the person pushing the boulder up the hill, that it's all on us. The reality is our responsibility as leaders is not to take that weight on. Mm-hmm. It is to build a thriving team that can support that weight in a healthy way.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of it too is like we have schedules, we have things to do, we have tasks lists. Yeah. And some of this seems like it's going to take too long to sit and like the solution to this is not a quick, easy one. Yeah. It's not here, this is the tiny piece that you missed. Yep. Here you go. It's the quick fix.
When it does take a while to build these systems out, it really does. But I think the key is at the base of it, understanding that if we are not modeling how to thrive, they are not going to thrive.
Right.
We have to model. And so I actually ran into this yesterday. We were at an event, and there was a gentleman there who had I think, knee surgery that he was coming back from. He does 11 hours a day of physical therapy, okay? It's crazy the amount of physical therapy he's doing. Yeah. And he's frustrated because it's taking forever, and he's like, I got to come back. So he's trying to come back early. And I said, here's the problem and why I don't think you need to come back early. You are modeling for your team that if you get hurt, getting back as fast as possible is the goal.
Dust off and get back in there.
Yes. And as he looked at me, he was like, that kind of is the goal. I said, the goal is not coming back. The goal is coming back healthy.
Yeah.
And if that becomes the goal, it changes everything. He goes, maybe that's why I keep getting hurt. I'm like, maybe so. Maybe the fact that you keep coming back early. And it was funny because one of his teammates was standing beside him. And apparently this teammate had been kind of pushing on him about this same idea because she was like, yup.
Maybe he needs to hear it from you.
Well, and then what was interesting was she said somebody else on their team was about to go out for surgery. And he'd already talked about how fast he was going to come back and so they were modeling for them what to do, and then the people were following.
Right. I think we always have to apply our own advice to ourselves.
We do. We absolutely do. We're not super
good at that.
And if we want our team to thrive, we have to model thriving. Mm-hmm. They are not going to magically do it. And understanding that responsibility that it is on us not to just do the work, but to model how to do it sustainably.
Yeah, going back to this specifically, it's like, okay, you don't want them to work late, and you want them to have their weekends off. You don't want them sending emails at midnight. You don't want them taking phone calls in the middle of their Saturday or whatever day their weekend is. Yeah. But I think it's like, okay, then to do that, if they see you doing it every weekend and they're getting emails from you at midnight, well, then they're going to assume that's kind of the expectation. You've set that, you've modeled that. Yep. So now they're going to do it, even if you tell them that's not great.
If a thriving team is the top of the mountain, we always have to ask the question, how do we all get there? Mm-hmm. If we cannot all get there, we're not truly thriving. It's the joke we always have is if you get to the top of the mountain but leave dead bodies along the way, is that okay? If we're the leader and we are one of those dead bodies, no, it is not okay.
They're going to get there and be like,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So ultimately we have to back off and say, how do we all get to this together? And thriving is that goal, right? Mm-hmm. How do we all get to thriving together? And what we're going to find is we got to change our systems. We got to change our pace. We got to change our way of doing things. And that's going to feel bad because it's going to feel like backing off. Kind of like last episode, your next step forward looks a lot like a step back. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what you're going to find is a decade from now, if you have a thriving team that has been thriving for a decade, it is worth slowing down and doing this important work.
Yeah.
We've got to model it for our people. Leaders, if you are in this boat where you are trying to help your team thrive, but you are not thriving, you've got to understand the path to them thriving is you modeling that, which means you're going to have to change some things. You're going to have to create systems for that to ensure that you really are modeling that well. And if you feel like you have to put the weight of the whole world on your shoulders, that is not your job. If you believe that's your job, you're not actually leading. Your job is to build a thriving team that can bear that weight sustainably. And it's a wildly different job than what most of us are taught, but it's reality. It's what you are after. If people want to send us scenarios like this, questions like this, where do they send those to?
To lab@forwardpartners.net.
Lab@forwardpartners.net if they want to find us online, where we're always putting out free content about leadership and all these different ideas.
At Forward Partner.
Find us at Forward Partners, all the major socials. Thank you for this conversation. John, thank you for producing. Wilco Workspaces, thank you for the partnership on this podcast. And thank you for watching. It means the world to us. Please share this with fellow leaders who are struggling just like you are, just like we are. We are all in this together. We will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.